welcome back to Series 2 of Docue Digest. I'm Ashleigh Evans. I'm a senior legal counsel at Docue UK, and joining me today is Milo Hill, the founder and CEO of Doozy. So Doozy has a really fascinating story. It actually started as a quiz app, which was used during the pandemic by Milo and his friends and family to keep connected. And since then, it's evolved into something way bigger. During this conversation, we talk about how Doozy originated as a B2C app, and eventually they had to pivot to B2B. You'll hear all about the challenges faced by Milo, and he also gives his top tips for enhancing company culture. So without further ado, let's get started. Milo Hill, thank you so much for joining me today on Docue Digest.
Thank you, great to be here.
So Milo, let's kick off with a bit about you. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Milo. I'm the founder of Doozy. I'm a software engineer by background. Kind of in the pandemic, fell into Doozy, and we started off as a quiz app for friends and family, and that kind of slowly took over my entire life. So I thought, okay, I'll try and make a business of it, which is maybe not the best way to start a business. So I'm sure we'll cover this as we go along. Made many mistakes, didn't know who our customer was, but Doozy now is an employee experience platform helping connect and engage employees.
Amazing. I'm a user of Doozy, so I actually answered a quiz this morning using
Did you get
Doozy.
It right?
I didn't get it right. but that's all part of the fun, isn't it?
It is part of the fun. Really, we put trick GIFs in because we think it encourages people to kind of talk about the question and talk about how stupid it was. So, the more you get wrong, we find the better the engagement.
Yeah, well, that's it. It works. We actually had one of our lawyers in Sweden. He said he purposely got it wrong every day just to see if people would notice that he was so bad. And we did, obviously, because all of us are trying to do our best. But yeah, it's a really good source of communication, whether it's for good or bad reasons. So yeah. we love it at Docue. But you said it started during the pandemic. So, I mean, obviously this is a time where everybody's kind of craving connection. And how did that stem? What were you just hosting quizzes and then realize, oh, actually I've got something here?
Yes. So I think, like everyone else, I was craving connection. I think I was, for me personally, my friends, we were missing the pub. So what we did was we started getting on Zoom calls and kind of playing games. And at the time, Kahoot was the kind of big quiz platform, but it was pretty limited. So, and it cost a lot of money. So I thought, I'll just rebuild this on myself. I've got a lot of time on my hands. I can't leave the flat in London. Built it to kind of connect my friends. We kind of did like a MVP in a week, played it, lots of bugs, and just kept iterating on this. That was very much Doozy's kinds of friends and family toy phase.
And what did it look like in the first iteration? Was it as beautifully integrated as it is now?
No, so back then it was just a simple web app, and a kind of, we call this kind of 0.0001 of Doozy was the quiz app kind of web that you could have all logged in on. There was kind of an image and some text fields, and that was it. Very, very basic.
Nice. Okay. And how long did it take you to create what it is today? Are you still developing on it?
Yeah. So still writing software most days. So the first 2 years of Doozy was us kind of like trying to find our feet, trying to find out who our customer was. So that's when we were at the beginning. We were just for kind of friends and family and quizzes, and kind of it was like, okay, we'll make a B2C app that people will want to pay for to play games. No one wants to pay for that. Very, very hard to do. So we were like, okay, how else can we help people connect? And that's when we started to moving from kind of B2C into the B2B space and helping companies with their team socials, which did well at the beginning. This is kind of mid-pandemic, tail end of pandemic. And then people started to get a bit sick of being on Zoom calls and of doing this. And it's like, okay, we need to pivot again. And that's when we got to Doozy that we know today, which is a Slack app, and then kind of an entire platform around that kind of helps with onboarding, with learning and development, with team socials, and it does all of that kind of through our Slack platform. But that's the third iteration. There's been many years to get to where we are today, which is Doozy that's actually doing well and is actually helping companies.
So when did you take Doozy to market then? Did you take it to market as a B2C platform or?
It's gone to market many times. So the B2C version, it was like we had, which I think lots of startups trying to figure out who is your user, and then I think there's the difference between who are your users and who are your customers, and who's actually gonna pay for Doozy. And no one in the beginning wanted to pay, but we had loads of users. Doozy was really big in schools. Doozy was really big kind of in companies. But Doozy, when it was just around games, was not something that we could ever convince people to pay for.
How did you do that initial marketing? If you got it into schools and had people actually using it?
That was word of mouth. And I think I put a couple of posts up on Reddit. And we had... And this is where you've got to be careful with what metrics you're measuring. Like our usage was going up and up and up in terms of users and active users, but we had no way to really monetize those. So kind of as we moved into the B2B version and we saw a massive drop in users, but we actually started figuring out what our customers want, what businesses want. And that's when revenue started to grow. Even though the number of active users was way lower than our initial B2C version.
So what was your mission with Doozy then? And has it changed as you've pivoted it?
Yeah, so initially the mission was just wanting to connect people. And now our mission is really about helping companies kind of engage and retain their employees. So it's pivoted from our focus being on just connection to really focused on how can we help companies connect their employees, help them retain them, stop employees churning. And I think especially with kind of hybrid remote teams, that's a challenge. And I think being able to have a platform that helps make that a little bit easier is really helpful.
Yeah, and I think being a user of Doozy, I think it's really important in kind of cultivating this positive culture within a business. How important is culture to you, do you think?
I think it's hugely important. I think I've worked before pandemics, I've worked in remote teams, and I think always the thing that was lacking was that kind of deliberate getting people to come together, getting people to communicate. And I think without having kind of clearly defined processes in place to bring people together, to connect people, to onboard them remotely, it doesn't work, and you're going to struggle to keep those employees happy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you're right with the structure. There's like two pillars of culture to a company, I think. You've got and this is such a lawyer thing of me to say, but you've got the kind of workplace processes, you've got your policies, HR documents, staff handbooks, well-written employment contracts, but then you've kind of got the more, I don't want to say the more magic side of things, but it is kind of the softer skills, the communication, engagement, keeping people talking. I think as a remote business, we're in 5 different jurisdictions. And since we've had Doozy, I think we've been more connected than ever because of, I don't want to say silly little quizzes and shout outs and birthday celebrations all via Slack, but these really small things, like kind of brick by brick, have built what we have today, which I think is really effective communication, and that's thanks to Doozy. Is that your kind of vision? Did you hope for that when you started out?
Yeah, I think that's really what I wanted, and I think hearing these stories, this is what kind of motivates me. It's what keeps me going every day. And I think something that we do with all of our customers is we have a Slack Connect channel so we can speak to them, so they can share these experiences with us of like what's working, what's not working. Yeah, I think hearing this is amazing. It always makes me happy. It's what gets me out of bed every day.
It's good to hear that you're happy to hear what's not working as well. I think
100%.
traditionally, I think a lot of founders kind of thought it's working, it's all doing really well, it's my way or the highway. But when you've got these, I think more modern thinking, agile, someone like yourself, a software developer, you're always thinking about bugs and how you can spot them and correct them. Is that kind of embedded into Doozy's everyday culture?
100%, I think. And where Doozy really started being successful is when we got the first kind of 5 or 10 companies who really engaged with what we're doing and understood our mission and wanted to help us make it better. And so from then on, and so this is probably in the last 18 months, 2 years, every single customer of Doozy gets a Slack Connect channel where they can provide direct feedback to us. They can ask us questions, whether it's a bug, a feature request, a suggestion. Everything gets tracked within our ticket management system, so we know exactly what people are looking for, and that shapes our roadmap. And that's, I think, why we're so successful today, is how close we are to our customers.
And how did you get those first 10 customers?
It was a challenge at the beginning. So we'll forget about the first 2 versions of Doozy. The current iteration, it was a lot of LinkedIn, messaging people, asking them if they want to try our new platform, and then combined with a few blog posts that we did around engagement. That's where we kind of got our first few leads. And then I think one of the most powerful customers that we gained early on was an agency that I was doing a little bit of contracting for, consulting for, and they let me be in their Slack channel so that I could see how they were using Doozy. So it's very easy to kind of look at Doozy from the outside. You've kind of got high level metrics, but when you see people interacting with the platform every day, you can spot bugs, you can spot opportunities. And I think that customer really helped shape Doozy to what it is today.
The word doozy is actually, when I think of it, I imagine an American accent saying it's a doozy. So where did that come from?
That was my fiance who came up with the name. I was like, we've built this quiz app, we need a name for it, and it was a night after playing quizzes on Zoom with Doozy pre having a name, and it just seemed to work. Like, that's a doozy. It's never changed. It's kind of lost all meaning to me now in terms of what it means. It's just Doozy.
How did you fund a business to get started?
So I funded it mainly from myself at the beginning. I previously, about a year before starting Doozy, I'd spent 5 years at Apple. So I'd got some stocks that I'd kind of cashed away, ready to be able to do something with. And that was the kind of initial bootstrapping to get Doozy going. And then we had some amazing angel investors and mum who put some money in and kind of got us to where we are today. So it was a bootstrapped round. We've never taken any VC funding. And I think it's allowed us to really focus on the customer and on how we can build it for the customer rather than building it for the investor.
Is this your first business then?
Yeah, my first business. I've learned a lot. If you spoke to me 4 years ago when I was just a software engineer, I didn't know anything about sales or marketing. I kind of knew design and product. Everything else has just been learning. I think most amazing learning experience really of my life.
What would you say is your biggest lesson learned from starting Doozy?
Probably understand who your customer is. And I think there was 2 years at the beginning of Doozy where we were trying to figure out who our customer was and trying to find a way to fit the product to the customer. I think if I was to start again, I'd hold back, trying to speak to businesses to figure out, okay, how could Doozy work? As an engineer, it's quite easy just to be like, oh, I'll just build it and they will come. And that's not the case.
So what kind of challenges do you think you still face now as a founder?
Yeah, I think being a software product, with how software is changing all the time. So like our big challenge at the moment is how do we integrate AI into Doozy, and how do we keep Doozy relevant when, oh, could you just replace us with ChatGPT? And I think it's how can we tie in our product with all of the new AI tooling to make it easier for our customers to use Doozy, to make it easy for them to create content. And so one of the things we've launched is the ability to transform their employee handbook into learning materials that are then sent through Slack as fun quizzes. And it's just, figuring out how to use that technology and just stay relevant.
Do you think AI is going to be a major part of the product going forward?
I think it will be a major part of the product going forward. So every new feature is kind of getting weaved into different AI to help support that. So whether it's using AI to help you create the learning content for your organization, using AI to help with our marketing, yesterday I was creating all of our new help documentation for this new tracks functionality we're adding. And I was feeding the UI of Doozy into ChatGPT to then generate automatically all of the help documentation. Like every part of the business is using AI now, both kind of, for our customers, but also internally, it's massive.
And as a software developer, how do you feel personally about AI?
Well, so if you'd asked me 4 years ago when I was just a software developer, I'd be like, oh no, this is not good. As a founder now, it's helping me move quicker. For when I'm writing code, Copilot from GitHub is a huge part of making it easy to write code and write code quicker. We're using a new tool called Code Rabbit, which analyzes the code and the changes we're making and saves us on reviewing time. And that kind of already it's caught spelling issues, bugs, like it's everywhere. So as a software developer, it's making my life easier and it's making our product better. That's what's important.
Good. I have to agree. But with the rise of AI, do you have any advice for trying to keep your teams engaged when you so easily can fall on AI to chat with rather than a colleague?
Yeah, I think it's so important that you set up, it kind of goes back to getting the process in place to get people to come together. I think one of the things that we do in Doozy is setting up regular meetings and regular introductions between people, so you always have that human connection. I think don't forget the people you're speaking to through Slack are also human, and kind of that human pie is what makes humans human.
Has there been anyone in particular that's influenced you as a leader, or something that's been particularly helpful on your journey, like a book or a podcast or maybe even a mentor?
Yeah, so for me, I was really lucky with the investors that we got in Doozy. They all became advisors. So I've got an advisor who has been a CTO for large tech companies. I've got an advisor who has led sales at a large kind of multinational SaaS company. Having those people there as your sounding board, I think, is so important. And if anyone was starting a company, I'd look at who you can get to just talk to and kind of sound ideas off. I think that's the most important thing.
Is there a piece of advice that you've received that you would love to have told yourself on day one?
Speak to your customers. Speak to your customers. Speak to your customers.
Why is that important?
Because you don't understand what you don't know. I think for me, being able to speak to the customers every day is now why the product is so good. It's why Doozy's been able to get to the point that it is. I think if we didn't speak to our customers, Doozy would be dead.
The crux of it is connection, and in order to get there,
it all comes back to connection.
Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, so what's next for Doozy? What are your goals for the future?
Yeah, so I think now it's how we're just looking to grow. We want more companies using Doozy. We really want every company to have Doozy as part of their onboarding, as part of their employee engagement. So that's our goal. Continue working with amazing customers and keep being customer first. I think I don't want to ever lose sight of that.
Amazing. Well, Milo, thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashleigh. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.